The Shovel Next Door, Story 1.
I'm caught in a situation I never imagined I'd be in. Honestly, I don't know what to do, so let me take you back to where it all began. About 5 years ago, our next-door neighbor, Tom, came to us in tears. His teenage son had gone missing, 14 years old, vanished without a trace. It was on TV, in the papers. Everyone in the neighborhood heard about it. My wife and I were devastated for them. We offered to help in any way we could. As months turned into years, with no word, the search faded. We assumed they'd accepted the grim possibility that he might never come home. We never asked if they'd found a body. Some things feel too heavy to speak aloud. Every so often, Tom and his wife would invite us over for the usual summer cookouts. But they were never the same after the boy disappeared. Tom's wife barely spoke anymore, and Tom himself, he carried this strange, nervous energy, like he was constantly walking on glass. Then, just last week, things took a turn. I was outside taking the trash out when Tom approached and asked if he could borrow a shovel. No questions asked, I gave him my best one. He said he had some yard work to take care of and would return it the next day. Simple enough. But when I went upstairs and happened to glance out the back window, that's when I saw it. Tom was out there, digging a massive hole in his backyard. Not planting, not landscaping, just digging. He's in his 50s, so he was clearly struggling. Figured I'd lend a hand. I grabbed another shovel and headed over, but as soon as I stepped into his yard and called out his name, he spun around, panicked. He dropped the shovel like it burned him. Rushed over and said, "No, please, just leave." I was confused, told him it was no big deal, but he suddenly snapped, saying, "You're not using that shovel back here." Then he pointed to the gate, like I was some kind of intruder. Honestly, I was too stunned to argue. I just left. But I couldn't let it go. From the upstairs window, I kept an eye on him. He kept digging, non-stop. But the oddest part came later. Around 1:30 in the morning, I woke up to the sound of a shovel striking dirt. It was too dark to see from the house, so I crept outside and peeked over the fence. Tom was still at it. Same spot, still digging. But when he went inside to grab something, I seized the chance to sneak into his yard. The hole was deep, and there, barely visible in the moonlight, was a black garbage bag jutting out of the dirt. I froze, looked at the bag, then at his door. Bag, door. I wanted to know what was inside, but something in me screamed, "Get out," and it's a good thing I listened. Seconds later, he stepped back outside, but this time, he didn't keep digging. He walked around the side of the house and didn't come back. I quietly went inside, heart pounding. Didn't sleep a wink. By morning, the hole? Completely filled in, freshly packed dirt, no sign anything was ever there. And his SUV? No longer in the driveway. It was parked down the street. I don't know what he did that night, but I have this sinking feeling that whatever was in that bag was once his son. Maybe he was digging to remove something he buried long ago, maybe to hide it elsewhere. I don't know. It's all a gut feeling, speculation. But something is very wrong here. I haven't told anyone, not even my wife. And now, Tom won't even look at me. Still hasn't returned my shovel. And now he's been avoiding me altogether. Yesterday, I looked out my window, just randomly, and saw him at his watching me. The moment our eyes met, he closed the blinds. Middle of the day, just watching. I don't know what he's hiding, but I know I'm scared to find out.
The Boys Next Door, Story 2.
Growing up, we moved around a lot. 3 homes total, 2 with my family, and now my current one, where I live alone. This story, it happened at the first house, the one where I spent most of my childhood. I was 15 years old, and it was during the last few months before we moved out. We weren't exactly tight with our neighbors. Never had that friendly barbecue kind of relationship. Next door lived a dad and his 2 sons, Eric and Tyler. My brother and I only ever spoke to them, once or twice, ever, and even then, it was awkward. One afternoon, my brother and I were out front shooting hoops on the driveway, when Tyler, the older of the 2 boys, wandered over. It caught us off guard. He started chatting like we were old friends. One of the first things he asked was, "Is it true you guys are moving?" I did most of the talking. My brother was 5 years younger and didn't really know what to say. By the end of the conversation, Tyler invited me, and surprisingly my brother, to go with him and Eric the next day to shoot BB guns down by the river, in the woods. Sounded harmless enough. I agreed. So the next day, right before sunset, they showed up at our door. My brother and I slipped out before our parents noticed. Didn't think they'd be thrilled about us playing with BB guns anyway. As we walked down the street, I started to feel off. Eric and Tyler were decked out in camo, carrying a duffel bag like they were on some military mission. My brother and I exchanged looks, trying not to laugh, but there was a weird tension in the air. Once we got to the woods, the mood completely shifted. Eric snapped a branch off a tree and chucked it into the river, hard. Tyler dropped the duffel bag and started unzipping it slowly. Then, he handed us 2 guns, but not BB guns. Tyler looked me dead in the eye and said, "These are real." At first, I thought it was a sick joke, but then Eric pulled out another one and started firing across the river. Loud, sharp cracks echoed through the trees. He wasn't kidding. I immediately took the gun out of my brother's hands and shoved both of them back into the bag. I told them, "We're out. This isn't okay." They just stood there, stone-faced. One of them mumbled something under his breath as we walked away. Some insult I couldn't quite make out. That night, we didn't tell our parents what happened. Just said the neighbors were weird. We figured that was enough, but that wasn't the end. I woke up that night to a breeze on my face. My bedroom window was wide open, and then I felt it. Something hard pressed against the back of my head. A voice, barely a whisper. "Shh." I froze, didn't scream, didn't move. Somehow, my brain processed exactly what was happening. It was Tyler. He leaned in close and whispered, "If you tell anyone about the guns or about us, I'll come back. I'll kill you and your family." I said nothing but nodded, quiet, terrified. He gave my head a shove with whatever he was holding, then slipped out the same way he came in. And after that, it just got worse. Every night, like clockwork, I'd catch one of the 2 of them, watching from their window, staring into mine or my brother's, like predators. A week before we moved, someone threw a rock at my window around 1 a.m. I opened it, and there was Tyler, aiming a pistol straight at me. For a second, I thought that was it. Then, he burst out laughing. Both of them did. One of them called me a name I won't even repeat. That final week before we left, they didn't stop, throwing stuff, whispering threats, watching us constantly. We never spoke a word about it to anyone, not until now. All I know is this: those boys were dangerous, and the day we moved out might have been the luckiest day of our lives.
The Woman in the Wall, Story 3.
This happened just 2 weeks ago. I'm fresh out of college, finally living on my own, and already regretting the neighborhood I chose. Rent was cheap. That should have been the first red flag. On one side of me, constant loud music, all hours of the night. On the other side, something way worse. 2 women live in that house. One's probably in her 60s, cold, bitter, and always scowling. The other, much younger, but with clear mental health issues. I still don't know what their relationship is. Mother and daughter, caretaker and patient. Whatever it is, it's unsettling. I'd often sit on my front porch just trying to get some air, until I'd hear it, screaming. The younger woman would be having some kind of breakdown while the older one tried to restrain her, rocking back and forth, shouting nonsense, pointing at me, mumbling things I couldn't make out. There were nights I'd go inside early just to avoid the whole scene. But one night, everything changed. It was a typical evening. I had work early the next day, so I went to bed around 10. But instead of silence, all I heard was chaos next door. Screaming. Banging. Something being thrown. After an hour of trying to ignore it, I'd had enough. I stormed over and pounded on their door. The older woman opened it with a glare like she'd been waiting to fight someone. "What the hell do you want?" she snapped. I calmly asked if they could keep the noise down. She didn't say a word, just gave me this sarcastic head tilt. And then suddenly, the younger woman came tearing into the room behind her, yelling, "How dare you!" over and over. The older one grabbed her, held her back, and slammed the door in my face. I stood there in disbelief, but weirdly, it worked. They quieted down. Finally, peace. Or so I thought. At 3 a.m., I woke up, drenched in sweat, feeling like I hadn't even slept. My room was pitch black, but something didn't feel right. Then I heard it. A faint, creaking sound, coming from downstairs. I got out of bed and walked to the door, stood there, listening. Silence. Maybe I imagined it. I climbed back into bed, shut my eyes, and about 20 minutes later, I woke up again. This time, I knew something was wrong. Reached over to grab my phone as a light source, but something caught my eye, a dark shape, right at the edge of my bed. I held up my phone, and there she was. The younger woman from next door, crouched down, her face inches from mine. Eyes wide. She screamed like a wild animal as the light hit her. I screamed too, jumped up, stumbled over the side of the bed. She started crawling toward me like something out of a nightmare. I slammed the door behind me, bolted downstairs, and locked the door to the upper level. My hands were shaking as I called the police. She was pounding on the door above me, screaming, laughing, speaking in tongues. The cops arrived fast. I told them who she was, told them everything. The older woman showed up shortly after, begging them not to arrest her, said she has episodes. The officer turned to me and asked, "Do you want to press charges?" And as he said it, the older woman shot me a glare so full of hate I swear it chilled the room. I didn't press charges. Maybe I should have. But in that moment, all I wanted was for the whole thing to be over. They took her in. Just for the night, they said. 5 minutes later, I saw the older woman climb into her car and drive off without saying a word. They still live next door, and now, I'm genuinely thinking about moving out. Because between the violent breakdowns, the stares, and the look the older woman gave me, I don't feel safe here anymore.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a like and share your suggestions for future videos in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you next time.